Hello, everyone. I'm Alexis,
I'm Shannon.
and we're welcoming you back to another episode of Get Stiff.
Get Stiff is a podcast where we talk about grief, loss, and everything in between over cocktails. Each episode coincides with a themed cocktail, and we share the recipe with our listeners.
Today's cocktail is called the Spinning Dreidel. You want to tell the ingredients, Shannon?
The Spinning Dreidel is made with vanilla vodka, chocolate liqueur, Rumchata, and chocolate shavings. We thought since we're filming this episode during Hanukkah that it felt very apt. And so, if you're ready, what do we do, Alexis?
Take a glass.
Raise a glass?
Raise your glass. Take a sip. Oof. And let's get into it.
Let's get into it. That is fucking delicious. What's that
Can
song?
we talk about
Dreidel?
Can we talk? I made it out
like
of
a song?
clay, and when it's
Yeah.
dry and ready, a dreidel I shall play. I've got some dreidels in there. It is Hanukkah. It is the Festival of Lights. I've got my Hanukkah jams on. Hanukkah jams with the menorah. Tomorrow is the last official night of Hanukkah, so we are celebrating a day early, a night early, but you know, whatever.
We are indeed. So,
This is amazing. Can we just talk about
it's so good. It tastes like
It's so
dessert.
good.
It's delicious.
You guys need to try this. It's
So-
actually like really, really good.
Each person who dies has a story to tell. Varying ages, gender identities, religious affiliations, hobbies, and values. Everyone's unique in their own way. But after years in the funeral industry, we know there are only two types of family members. There are those who come together when tragedy strikes,
And those who don't.
we know the drama well. So today we're going to get into one of the biggest causes of infighting when someone dies. Who's in charge of the funeral arrangements? In families with multiple children, the oldest seems to think they're in charge, or that the estranged child has no rights, or that the wife that hasn't been there for, they've been separated for 5 years, she has no rights. So we thought we would see what the state of California has to say about it. Alexis, do you have any experience with families fighting about who gets to be in charge of the funeral arrangements?
Oh my God, of course. You know how many fights I've been in the midst of where I just have to sit there with my mouth shut while these families duke it out, getting crazy, cursing at each other, and I'm just like, so who is going to sign this paperwork? Which one of y'all? You? Who knows?
So we're gonna silence all that noise today. And I have in my hand the California Legislative Information Code Section 7100, which says the right to control the disposition of the remains of a deceased person, the location and conditions of interment, and arrangements for funeral goods and services to be provided, unless other directions have been given by the decedent, fall upon the following in the order named. Number 1, an agent under a power of attorney for health care who has the right and duty of disposition under Division 4.7. So that means anyone who has an advanced health care directive or a power of attorney for health care. A lot of people think that that document expires when the person does, and that's not true. There is a clause in there that says my agent has the right to make anatomical gifts, authorize an autopsy, and direct disposition of my remains, which means they're in charge of the funeral arrangements. Number 2. Who do you think comes as number 2, Alexis?
I'm going to say the spouse.
Ding, 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 ding. It is the spouse. After the person with the power of attorney or advanced healthcare directive, if that person was married, the spouse has the legal right to control disposition. And after that, coming swinging in third would be the children. Now, most families tend to think that the eldest is in charge. Is that true?
Not always, not always.
Not always and not ever. If there are multiple children, all of the children have equal right to say what happens to their parents' remains. If there is no power of attorney and there is no spouse or the spouse is deceased, all of the children equally hold right to control disposition, because you can have siblings. Just because one is older doesn't make that child any less an offspring of that person.
True.
After children, this is where it starts to get tricky. If there are no living children and no spouse and no advanced healthcare directive, who is the next of kin?
If there are no children, no spouse, then who's next, Shannon? Who's next? Cousin.
That would be any living or competent parents. Any living or competent parents jointly, if both parents are alive, are still next of kin. A lot of people don't realize that kids come before parents, but yes, they absolutely do. And finally, I'll do one more tier. If there is no advanced health care directive, if there is no spouse, if there are no children and no living parents, who would be the next of kin?
Oh, is this a guess? Let's just guess something random. Let's say a friend. I said a friend.
The next legal
really
next of kin
aggressive.
would be any surviving siblings would be the legal next of kin. Any surviving siblings. So you have advanced healthcare directive or power of attorney for healthcare. You have the spouse. You have the children. You have any living parents, and then you have any living siblings jointly. That's about as far as I think we need to go now. But
Top 5. Staying alive.
so I think that it's important to know that, because a lot of people don't know who's in charge of the funeral arrangements, and you have these situations, especially in larger families. I know I come from a very big family, and everyone has an opinion. Everyone wants a say. Everyone, wants to feel heard or important. And I've noticed, especially on my dad's side of the family, there were 6 children. On my mom's side of the family, there are 7. My dad falls third in 6, and my mom is the middle child of 7. And you see this dynamic where the older siblings tend to step up, which, I mean, they're probably used to doing their entire lives, stepping up and taking care of things and trying to kind of shoulder that burden. But in the eyes of the law, it actually equally belongs to all the children. And so you always have that third cousin twice removed who is, related by marriage to your step grandroach that always has an opinion and always wants things to be a certain way, but has no legal right. So I want to ask you, Alexis, how do you handle situations like that? If you're meeting with the family and they bring that cousin with all the feelings and all of the opinions and none of the coins, how do you handle that?
I've been in this situation so many times, and it's always the most random person, and they normally show up late, or they show up and they haven't been around the family for years, but all of a sudden have something to say. So what I would do in these situations is I was always revert to whoever it is who is going to be officially making the arrangements, whoever has that power of attorney, whoever the spouse is, whoever the oldest child is, or whoever, if there's just one child, whoever the child is, whoever has that power is who I always direct to. Because I've also seen instances where someone like that, the like fourth cousin twice removed, will come in and almost like bully the spouse or bully the power of attorney to try to change things around and do things. And that's where I step in and I'm like, sit it down there, Cheryl. Sit it down. What do you want to do to the power of attorney? It is always a Cheryl. But I always make sure that I'm really just in tune with whoever has the power of disposition, and make sure that it is a decision that they are wanting to make and they're not influenced by anyone and everyone around them. So that's how I diffuse that situation. I try to work as directly as I can with whoever I know has that power of disposition.
Did you notice the ones with the strongest opinions are also never actually paying?
Yeah, it's always them. Always.
So, what?
I noticed that. It's like ASMR.
I like the videos where I used to watch the ASMR videos of like the people who would chew ice. Like that sound, I love that. It scratches my brain really nice. And yeah, those are my go-to videos. If I want like ASMR sounds, I like the sounds of chewing ice. I like the sounds of like rain. I like those videos where people are like breaking bottles and they like splash open. I watch those. I like those a lot.
You know what's been my guilty pleasure is the ASMR like head spa videos where people are like getting their like scalp massage. Those help me go to sleep at night.
Yeah. So I'm very spoiled because I have my best friend is actually a licensed esthetician, and so I get all the good treatments, especially when she wants to like practice or something like that.
What?
And then, you know, Dr. Whitney Griffin is also one of my other closest friends, and she, she's very much, her love language is physical touch, and my love language is not. And it took a long time to get to that place where we could, meet in the middle. But I get these migraines, and she'll take my head and she'll just like hit the pressure points with her essential oils. And I mean, when I tell you it feels like I've been kissed by the goddess Janae Aiko herself by the time she's done with her sound therapy and her massages and the oils and all of that. Like it's absolutely wonderful. But I know we're getting off topic. People be thinking they're in charge and they're not in charge. Just a little bit. Not a lot, baby girl. Just a little bit.
I was going to say, it's like that 50 Cent song. You go to the crib in a little bit.
So, to get back on topic, I want to make sure we don't leave without giving you resources as to how to know who's in charge when the time comes. And that's something that, any funeral director worth their salt in anything, I guess. I don't know. Worth their salt is such a strange phrase, but should know. I will go ahead and I'll put up a kinship tree. So if you can visit idodeath.com/resources and download a free PDF of the kinship tree so you know where exactly you fall in that line. And it goes all the way down to cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, to show where you do fall on that line, to show what the responsibility is. And we'll also include a free copy of an advanced healthcare directive, meaning if you know you come from a large family and you don't want all of your children to fight over what happens to you, or you don't want your siblings to fight over what happens to you, you can pick a person. And we'll do a more in-depth episode about an advanced healthcare directive and what that means and how it works and, how to choose an agent. But we'll make sure we include a PDF on the resource page as well for you guys to download. And you know how we love to give you things for free 99. So it will be there for you to download absolutely free. And again, that's idodeath.com/resources. Alexis, do you have anything to add?
Nope, just
aside
know your
from
place.
Your song, go check it out.
Know your place.
Well, I feel like that was way shorter than I thought it was going to be, so I ain't got shit else.
It was straight to the point. Boom. Facts. Done. Laid out.
All right.
Educated.
This
Done.
was another, I guess, apparently mini-sode of Get Stiff. And you can follow the show at Get Stiff Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram and X at I Do Death, or on TikTok at I.do.death.
And me, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and X at Death with Lex. You still sipping? Still sipping, still tipping.
This has been another
tipping on fofos.
mini-sode of Get Stiff, Stiff Talk.
Stiff drinks.
And we out.
Ooh, stiff.
Stiff. This is a stiff-ass drink.
This is a
Why do I have chocolate on my
drink.
knee?
Get Stiff is produced by Milan Reed. Do you love us and want to help others find the show? If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. For all audio platforms, please rate and review the show. It helps others find us, and we'd love to know what you think. Do you have a topic you want to hear us get into? A drink recipe you'd like to recommend? Do you have a story to share? We want to hear from you. Get in touch at getstiffpodcast@gmail.com or reach out on Instagram at getstiffpodcast.